ABC 10 News at 5 starts now.
In just the last 90 minutes, we learned San Diego County will be added to the state's coronavirus watch list after reporting another record number of cases. Good evening, I'm Lindsay Pena.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. If the county remains on the list for the next 3 days, which county officials expect to happen because of the continuing high number of daily cases, that means some of our businesses would be forced to close starting Monday.
We can do enforcement if we don't get that voluntary compliance that we're seeking.
In the meantime, the county is bracing for large crowds along the coast this holiday weekend. As our ABC 10 News reporter Mimi Alcala explains, law enforcement agencies are counting on everyone to follow the public health order.
Most law enforcement agencies across San Diego County have been focusing on education rather than enforcement of the county's public health order, with the goal of getting voluntary compliance.
This is what we carry in the business district of Coronado and around the beach area, and if we see folks that need one, we're happy to offer one up.
Coronado Police Chief Chuck Kay says giving out paper face masks has been working well. The department will also start to hand out these new cloth masks that were recently purchased.
To approach folks in an enforcement posture, I'm not sure we're going to get the kind of compliance we need.
This 4th of July weekend, San Diego County is expected to be packed with visitors flooding local beaches. Sheriff Bill Gore says deputies will be out, but they're relying on beachgoers to follow the rules when it comes to wearing a facial covering when required and social distancing.
We're not planning on adding enforcement details to be specifically walking on the beaches to look at who's wearing a face mask, who's socially distanced or not. What we're trying to do here is educate the public so that ultimately we can save lives.
There are many new additions to the public health order. Restaurants must close to customers from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. and indoor bars, wineries, and breweries that don't serve food should be completely shut down.
State regulatory teams that will be in different regions will be working with that team here, which part of it's alcohol beverage control, and our county regulatory agencies. We can do enforcement if we don't get that voluntary compliance that we're seeking.
If a business is warned it's in violation and voluntary compliance isn't achieved, the Sheriff's Department says it will report that business to the county health officer for further investigation and possible action. Mimi Alcala, ABC 10 News.
And a spokesperson for San Diego Police tells ABC 10 News that extra officers will be out at the beaches and the bays, and if violations are witnessed, officers will continue educating people to seek compliance. All right, here's the reason for concern. Yet again, the county reported another record day of positive cases with 584. That's now a total of 15,207. 5 new deaths were reported for a total of 377. And there were 10 new outbreaks, 8 of those in restaurants and bars. So in the past 7 days, we have had 22 community outbreaks, far exceeding the 7 outbreaks in 7 days trigger.
Restaurants have been hit with a 10 o'clock curfew heading into this holiday weekend. Many tell us they make most of their money during after hours. ABC 10 News reporter Jennifer De La Cruz spoke with employees who say the curfew will make a huge dent in their paychecks.
The freedom of reopening was short-lived for many bars and restaurants in San Diego County. While bars are shut down again, restaurants are now slapped with a 10 p.m. curfew. For many places in the gas lamp, that's going to be a problem.
We're obviously going to comply with that, but it's pretty devastating to our business.
Brian Byers is a bartender at Gaslamp Tavern. He says they'll be losing 70% of their business under the new curfew.
We do our most business on Friday and Saturday night between 11 and 2, and especially with the holiday weekend coming up, we're really looking forward to that so we could catch up on some of the bills that we have accumulated during COVID.
He's already had to make changes.
I had to change the schedule. A couple of people said just take me off of the schedule and I'll just start collecting unemployment again.
Supervisor Nathan Fletcher says the decision to implement the curfew was based on data.
Well, the reason we took actions on bars and restaurants is the 2 of them combined constitute the largest number of outbreaks that we've seen. And in particular, the evening type settings with large gatherings of younger folks is what's primarily constituted our spike.
Byers says they do their best to enforce the rules no matter what time it is.
If I see someone that doesn't have their mask on properly when they're walking around, I remind them immediately. And for the most part, people are very compliant with that.
Many restaurants now just hoping the curfew doesn't last long. Jennifer De La Cruz, ABC 10 News.
And people are continuing to go back to work during increasing uncertainty over the spread of coronavirus. Last month, San Diego County's unemployment rate ticked down to an estimated 14.8%. The nationwide unemployment rate fell to 11.1%, which is better than expected. Our 10 News reporter John Horn explains why recent job gains could be in jeopardy.
Then all of a sudden you can't do anything. It was, almost like being ripped apart.
Susan McKesson says the coronavirus outbreak has been particularly hard on her and her husband Ian. They're both hairstylists and had to close their 2 salons in March.
It's been a roller coaster.
Their Mission Hills location is now shuttered permanently, but the couple, who got by on unemployment during the pandemic, was able to reopen their Fallbrook salon called Mary Jane North, putting upwards of 7 stylists back to work.
It's kind of firing on all cylinders.
Yeah,
It's almost
it's
like Christmas busy.
Their reopening is one reason the county's unemployment rate has been ticking down. After peaking at 25% in mid-May, the San Diego Association of Governments reports it fell to 14.8% as of June 20th.
We're not out of the woods at all. I mean, this is almost 50% higher than the highest unemployment that we had during the Great Recession.
Sandag chief economist Ray Major says the other cause for concern is the recent rise in coronavirus cases. That could lead to a new round of shutdowns, sending thousands right back to unemployment. The McKessons are trying to remain optimistic.
We get nervous because there's things that are still shutting down around, and so that's a little daunting.
Sandag says there are still about 250,000 people in our county that are unemployed. The areas of our region with the highest joblessness continue to be Central San Diego and San Ysidro. John Horn, ABC 10 News.
And we have links to all sorts of job search resources on the special section of our website, 10news.com/rebound.
As people head to beaches this weekend, they might spot 2 cruise ships anchored off our coast. The cruise industry has been shut down for months. ABC 10 News anchor Derek Stahl takes a closer look at what they're doing, what's next, and the economic impact of it all.
Right now, celebrities Millennium and Eclipse are floating ghosts of their former selves. The passengers are gone, they're down to a minimal crew, and they're basically just waiting for the green light from the CDC. The ships arrived in San Diego back in March, days after the CDC suspended cruise ship operations across the country. While thousands of passengers disembarked, some travelers and crew on the Eclipse tested positive for COVID-19 and were kept on board. More than a month later, in May, 63 passengers were still quarantined on the Eclipse, along with hundreds of crew members. Since then, a lot has changed. The only people on the ships now are about 80 crew members on each vessel to keep them operational. The cruise ships occasionally pull into port to refuel, but otherwise stay anchored off the coast to avoid port fees that can be $10,000 or more a day. The CDC has suspended cruises until at least July 24th. Doug Shube is with AAA.
Some of the cruise lines are voluntarily pushing back their operations until September 15th. Others have said they're going to wait until September 30th.
The Port of San Diego says the pandemic has already caused 28 canceled port calls by cruise ships, which has a staggering economic impact. The port estimates local businesses in our region missed out on as much as $42 million. However, there are signs of an industry bounce back. Just maybe not this year.
We've seen that our bookings for 2021 for cruises are actually higher than what they were this time last year. And the reason for that is a lot of people, of course, had to put them off this year. And so they're really looking at 2021 to set sail again.
A spokesman for the cruise ship says they plan to stay in this position through the summer until their plans to return to service are finalized. Derek Stahl, ABC 10 News.
AAA says safety measures recently adopted in Europe will likely become standard on all cruises, such as lowering capacity, testing passengers each time they board a ship, and grouping passengers by age. You're looking at part of the state's new multi-million-dollar public awareness campaign. Ads like these launched today and aimed at getting people to take the threat of coronavirus seriously. The campaign also includes hundreds of billboards going up all over the state with the goal of convincing Californians of one message.
Outside of staying at home, outside of practicing the physical distancing, wearing a mask is foundational. And again, it's mandatory here in the state of California.
Newsom is also hoping some celebrity clout helps. He says he's enlisting A-listers from Kim Kardashian and Snoop Dogg to Larry David to help get people on board with his safety measures.
Let's hope that helps too. The governor of Texas is now ordering everyone in the state to wear a mask in public. This comes as more than 50,000 new coronavirus cases were reported in the U.S. today. That's a new one-day record. The infection curve is rising in 40 out of 50 states. But as ABC's Rena Roy reports, President Trump is upbeat about how things are going.
As at least 36 states see a steady climb in COVID-19 cases, President Trump claims the U.S. is making progress in the right direction.
Europe was way early, and they're getting under control. We followed them with this terrible China virus, and we are likewise getting under control.
But coronavirus task force member Dr. Anthony Fauci, speaking with the BBC today, refuting that claim.
What we've seen over the last several days is a spike in cases that are well beyond the worst spikes that we've seen. That is not good news. We've got to get that under control, or we risk an even greater outbreak in the United States.
Doctors on the front lines also sounding the alarm, with hospitalizations rising in at least 26 states.
Now I'm having to choose and have conversations about which patients I'm supposed to take care of, which patients I can't take care of because I got to take care of other patients.
Arizona's ICUs are at 89% capacity.
It's hard. We want to do the job that we signed up for.
In Riverside County, California, ICUs are at 90% capacity. Across the state, nearly 10,000 new cases in just 24 hours. Health experts particularly concerned about the increase in cases in younger people. In Oregon, cases amongst children younger than 10 grew fivefold in June. 8 children and 12 teachers testing positive at a child care center there. In Rockland County, New York, a suburb of New York City, at least 8 confirmed cases allegedly linked to a house party full of 20-year-olds.
It's a very uncaring attitude toward the rest of society.
And with July 4th celebrations right around the corner, many local officials are taking extra precautions. Some popular beaches in California and Florida will be closed this weekend. A lot of bars and indoor dining have also been shut down across the country amidst this surge. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
New data shows more than 800 incidents of harassment against Asian Americans in the last 12 weeks. Stop Asian American Pacific Islander Hate held a conference today sharing this data. The group says that Asian Americans began reporting attacks from people who blamed them for the coronavirus. Now the group is calling on Governor Gavin Newsom to help stop racial discrimination. They are asking him to add Asian American representatives to his COVID-19 task force. A crash at Montgomery Field left a plane upside down and resting on its roof. The FAA says that single-engine plane flipped over while the pilot was landing around 1:45 this afternoon. It's not clear right now what caused it to flip. The pilot was the only person on board and miraculously was not injured in the crash. Records show the 48-year-old plane is registered to a man in Alaska. The FAA is now investigating the incident.